In classic ADHD fashion, I attempted to do too much and ended up with absolutely nothing done. So the original plan for this video was for me to have two different projects that I was switching every 30 seconds trying to work on, just to actually prove that you really have a hard time doing two things at once. There's 5 particular reasons for it. I'm going to walk you through them real quick, but the idea was that I was going to try and do what are really relatively simple projects and prove that it's much harder to do two things at once than most of us give credit for, because we're not usually being lazy when we end up not getting stuff done. We usually just end up in a place where we are just straight up overwhelmed because of these 5 programming pieces that our brains are predisposed for if you have ADHD. The problem here is I wasn't doing two things at once. I was trying to talk and do 2 projects at once. And so what we did is we ended up, I'm going to let you guys watch what happened while I talk to you about these 5 reasons. Because here's the thing. Most of the time, ADHD brains are not trying to be lazy. They are not trying to get out of work. One of the biggest reasons that we end up falling into these traps that end up just destroying our January plans is when we plan things, we tend to go from a place of the optimism trap. So our brains are predisposed to be more optimistic. We are more optimistic about tomorrow is going to be better than today. I'm going to be able to get things done faster because it's going to be new and interesting. And then when we actually get into the meat and potatoes of something, it's actually 139 some odd pieces and it's incredibly complicated. And now I have a finished project, and no will to live. The number 2 reason is that we end up falling into these emotional forecasting errors. So ADHD brains not only tend to have some time understanding challenges, but we tend to have some emotional understanding challenges as well. And one of them is we fall into this emotional forecasting error of tomorrow I'm going to be in a better place than I am today, right? Today is overwhelmed and I can't get it all done, but tomorrow I'm going to have everything together because tomorrow's going to be a new day. So then we plan getting more things done tomorrow, assuming that we're going to be more disciplined, we're going to be more organized, but we're still the same person. So we end up making tomorrow a little bit worse by putting all of these things on it at once that can't all get done at the same time anyhow. The number 3 reason that we end up forgetting and ending up overwhelming ourselves, especially in January as we get going with I can do everything, is we have this thing called task switching task. So there's an actual little tax in our brain when we go to switch tasks. There is a cost associated, right? We cannot just switch between tasks super easily. One of the reasons this original project did not go very well is I was literally sitting here trying to figure out what color were they trying to show me in the X, and I couldn't even figure that part out before I was supposed to switch again, which meant my brain was still stuck on what color am I supposed to be using over here while I was trying to put the flower together. There is an actual cost associated. First of all, your brain is 3% of your body mass and it consumes 20% of the calories that you consume for the day, right? Your brain requires a lot to keep going. And when you are forcing it between tasks, it is requiring even more to try and jump ship real quickly. So there is an actual task associated when we're trying to jump between tasks. And that is one of the reasons why, I'll always say I'm having a bad ADHD day when I start spiraling and I can't get any one thing done because now I've just task switched 6 times and burned way more energy than I needed to. Number 4 is the accumulation problem. Individually, these are not difficult to do tasks. These are very simple. They are well laid out other than the colors not working great. The actual exercise, the instruction books are pretty darn good. These are very, very simple. And that's a problem for us sometimes. When it is really simple, we have this accumulation problem. We think we can get more done with less time, right? And the problem is that those things end up compounding. So what was really, really simple isn't really simple anymore. And because ADHD brains end up having a really hard time in terms of understanding capacity in advance, we end up saying yes to all these things that now all of a sudden we have to figure out a way to get done that there's just literally no possible way to get it all done. And then the last problem that we run into is the silent cost of overcommitment, right? That we often don't realize that we're overcommitted until we're already dropping the ball, which ends up making us feel worse about ourselves and ends up creating this spiral situation where I'm already not doing well and now I'm doing worse because I've realized I've dropped the ball on things that mattered. So this ends up adding more to our cognitive load and to the weight that is kind of pulling us down at that point. Look, I'm going to be honest. Like when I was in planning mode, none of this looked all of that hard. I was like, okay, it's going to be a challenge, but like I can do it. Problem is today's Steph is coming off of a cold and having a little bit of a bad ADHD day. And so trying to do 2 tasks at once was a big challenge. Adding in a third of trying to talk to the camera wasn't going to happen. And this is ADHD overcommitment in a nutshell. We end up with one thing done, one thing half done that, let's be honest, might never actually get done. But it all seemed so easy at the beginning. And so when you find yourself in these similar situations, I want you to remember to give yourself a little bit of a break. I'm going to be honest, I may never finish this one because I may want to leave it just exactly like that to remind myself exactly of the cost of overcommitting and trying to do too many things at once. Because let's be honest, y'all, sometimes I need that reminder as well.